And we're live. Hey, everybody, all across the world, all across the globe, all across our different Amazon communities. Guys, today I'm super excited because we have a special community call. I'm joined by Eric Castellano. Eric, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Yeah, absolutely, Philip. Super grateful to be here and excited to kind of get into it. Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody, for
so
joining.
so we were just talking just before we went live. We were talking that like it's apparently colder in New Jersey than in Europe, which
Yeah.
is baffling. But this is not your first interview in a jacket, I must assume.
No. No,
I
it's
think
just
it's
a
one
little
of the
chilly. It's just a little chilly in our warehouse today, so I threw on a little
yeah.
coat.
But I think it's also in a way one of so I started just the same time around the same time, like 9 years ago. I think
Uh-huh.
you're 9 years as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
in e-commerce. So I started. One of the reasons was, but I started like trying to do something on my own like years before. But like
yeah,
one of the reasons why I started was one of my bosses in my second official job. One of my bosses said like to me something like, "Oh, when you're going to be as on my position, then you can tell me how to
yeah,
act. But for now, just shut the fuck up." Exactly. And since then, I think like if you can start the day and finish the day not wearing a tie, and my boss was wearing a tie because he had a boss, and just be in a jacket, I think that's a good life to have, you know?
yeah. Listen, I'm not complaining. I'm super cozy right now.
So,
I'm not
guys,
complaining.
if you don't know Eric fully, Eric has been um, an amazing resource for Amazon e-commerce sellers, and he's been in the business for many years. A mastermind behind quite successful also social media brand called Amazon Lead. Amazon Lead is also the name of your company and one of top Amazon 50 sellers, correct, in the
Yes,
US.
yes,
So
that is correct.
you managed to grow it a little bit, and in here in Carbon Six we have two kind of communities that I'm part of. One is arbitrage, and one is wholesale. And in this
Yeah,
special call, we wanted to kind of get a little bit of both because you're actually fiddled into a little bit of both of them.
yeah.
So I'm curious to start maybe. What's your personal kind of path into e-commerce? Has it always been like, okay, I want to get into e-commerce, e-commerce is my thing, or were you having like a path that was like, was it for freedom, for time, for money, for what's the reason? I'm curious.
I think it was out of confusion. I was in my mid to late 20s. I was really lost. I didn't have, I was jumping job to job, construction work, pizza delivery, like all these odd jobs. And then my best friend Sebastian, he started selling on Amazon. And the way he explained it to me was like, Eric, just join my team for 1 year. You don't like it, you can always do something else. Go back to what you're doing right now.
I think that's an amazing way to start. My first Amazon business partner, she had this saying to everybody who was a little bit like, I don't know what to do in my life. I'm a bit depressed. I'm lost. She was saying like, give me a year of your life. I
Yeah.
will own it, but after this year, you're going to work your ass off, but you're going to learn so much and you're going to actually improve so much. And I actually gave her 1 year of my life. It ended up being much more, but we built some great Amazon businesses. And going to that, like, did you start with wholesale or did you start with arbitrage? And that's kind of like something that I want to get into then, maybe discussing a little
Yeah.
bit what you think about both.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we first started, we started with arbitrage, specifically retail arbitrage. Right at the time, there was no softwares or apps to help you with online arbitrage. So we were literally going into, Sam's Clubs and Costco's, and initially it was spending a couple $100 a day, and then it was spending a couple $1,000 a day, and then before we knew it, it was tens of thousands of dollars a day. And we're like, listen, this is great. Arbitrage is phenomenal. We've been able to build a big business and generate sales and employ 2 or 3 people, and like the business is growing. But we knew there had to be a better opportunity to source these products. There had to be something better out there. And for us, that was wholesale.
So it was kind of an outcome of needing to grow and wanting to grow and just wanting to be bigger business. So when you
Yeah.
turned into a wholesale mostly or fully wholesale business, how big was the company at that point? Was it like two
So
guys or?
yeah, it was probably 2016, and at that point, the transition from arbitrage to wholesale took probably 18 months, right? So it wasn't like one night we were doing arbitrage and the next night it was 100% wholesale. It took time to build that up, but our business was doing a couple $1 million a year at that stage when we made the full transition.
Okay, so you were already an established business going into wholesale. Do you guys now think about private label, kind of venturing out of wholesale, or is it already small part of your business, or you're not completely interested in all that mess?
No, absolutely. It's a part of our business. So I'm actually right before this call every year at the end of the year, we review all our numbers, right? And I'm in the process of looking at that private label numbers, and it makes up about 4 or 5% of our business. So I'm definitely happy with that. Obviously, we'd like to continue to grow that side of our company out as the years go on. But right now, I think it's doing pretty solid.
Okay. And do I understand correctly that you guys started out, two of you?
So there's 3 of us. There's Ted as well. Ted is Sebastian.
All right, so Ted, Sebastian, and you, 3 of you guys. Maybe you could share a little bit like how 3 guys started. Like, what were the numbers like this year? Like, if you're closing down, like, and so if wholesale is like 95% of the business, could you share something like how much did you grow right now? Like, how many employees do you have, or VAs? How do you run the business?
Yeah. So, this year we finished off the year. Well, there's still about 2 weeks left, but we did about 60 million, a little over 60 million. Healthy margins, right around 17.5 points. So very, very healthy margins on there. Those are gross margins, obviously. And in order to pump that type of inventory out, which is about almost 3 million orders over the course of a year. So it's a lot of inventory. And in order to manage that downstairs, we have a team of, 45 employees who kind of make all the magic happen.
Okay, so it's a full-blown business. You're not a guy that's taking a laptop into Thailand and working from the beach. You're a full-blown CEO now, huh?
No, that's not me. It's a full-blown operation. Fortunately, because we have positions in place, I'm able to free up a lot of my time and focus on other businesses. But, I like to be involved in the day-to-day, man. I love it. I'm addicted to it, Philip. I know you get that. You own a couple businesses yourself, so.
Yeah. And have you always wanted to run a big business? Is that something that excites you? Or I'll tell you my perspective for a moment. I went up to a point where I was running 15, 20 people business. And at some point it was more people management rather than project management.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of people management? Is that something that you always wanted, or you were hoping to streamline it more? How is your approach? Or you like that challenge of growing as much as possible?
Yeah, no, I love the day-to-day, man. I prefer to be involved with at least a percentage of the decisions. It gets me really excited. It gives me the motivation to get up in the morning. It's just so fulfilling. I love interacting with people and seeing the sales come in. Just the whole experience for me, Philip, is.
Yeah, and those who are who have been following Amazon Lit, and Amazon Lit has been also on YouTube and Instagram, has been a wealth of knowledge for those really learning about e-commerce. And I also know that you guys have a training and mentoring programs that if somebody wants to learn more can jump into. What do you tell people when they want to get into e-commerce right now? Do you tell them wholesale is the way to go, start with arbitrage, or how do you explain and how do you lead people there?
Yeah. So I always suggest people just start selling some products, right? And preferably the easiest method to do that is through arbitrage, retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, or even looking for used books around your house, right? Because the first couple $100 in sales, and this is what a lot of people fail to realize, it's not about making profit on that first couple hundred. It's more about learning the process, So just investing some money in some product, whether you're crushing it, making $1, breaking even, it's more about the process,
Mm-hmm. And do you find that the e-commerce business really has couple main areas that you have to master, or is it 20, 30 different smaller things that you have to focus?
I would say there's a few, definitely high priority tasks, like buying is super important. If you're making mistakes on your buying side, like I know a lot of users use one of your software, Scan Unlimited, and what it does is help alleviate the pressure of, sorting through 50,000 line items in a catalog, which is huge, but the issue that pops into play, and from my experience, is most people still lack the skills to actually do the product research to make educated, profitable buying decisions.
Definitely. And do you, we talked before the recording, and I asked, can I ask about everything? So, and you said yes, of course. That only makes sense if we are honest with each other. Do you have a profit margin that's like a minimum for your buyers and for your team, that like don't take anything below this profit ROI or margin? What kind of is the, for your type of business, an interesting or dollar amount of profit? How do you look at it?
Yeah, so it's two requirements. It's a gross margin and a dollar amount. So it's $2 and 10% gross margin.
Minimums.
Yeah, minimums.
All right. And I'm going to ask a last question, and this is because I'm really curious. For a company of that size, how many SKUs do you guys have on like regular basis? Do you guys like have a lot of this like once per year liquidation deal? Do you double into those things, or you're basically stable inventory with suppliers and manufacturers? How do you approach your business?
Yeah, that's a great question, Philip. We do an assortment of everything. So some of those one-off deals, on average, we have about 4,500 SKUs in stock on a daily basis.
Okay, so that's a little bit of a management there.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I'm going to ask you basically like how much time do you work on your business, that's going to be probably be full time. Is that something that you're fully committed to? How much is that divided into the YouTube, into helping others?
Yeah, it's probably 50-50. So 50% of my time is spent on my own Amazon business. The other 50 is spent with my community, helping them build out their businesses. Maybe even 60-40, 60 being the community side.
Okay, yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I don't know if that happens often in your community, but in our communities, there is a lot of questions where people ask like, hey, I want to hire a VA, and they very quickly want to like kind of get away from the uncomfortable, non-sexy elements like cash flow, inventory management, or product picking, and they just want to do VA. I always say like, this is not the right way to go. Like, have you first like kind of learned all the elements by yourself, or you've always invested in a team? How quickly?
No. I'm a firm believer in at least understanding the basics and the fundamentals of each process in your business. Because if you don't understand those, just like the foundation processes, if you don't understand those, you're not going to know if someone on your team is making mistakes.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So you got to familiarize yourself.
And that's why I very often say, I think the path between arbitrage and wholesale, where to start, is dependent on couple items. And I think like the budget is probably one consideration. Probably if you have a little bit less budget, you should be starting with something like we recommend Zen Arbitrage, which is online book arbitrage. But if you have a little bit more, probably something else. But like I also like arbitrage because it's less volume and less overwhelming, but the principles are really the same, right?
Exactly the same.
Yeah. So it kind of makes sense to start, get a little bit of your feet wet, and then scale up.
Yes.
Just you guys are you guys thinking of scaling up more of that private label section as well, or what's the kind of 2023 idea?
Yeah. So the vision for 2023 is we're building out a new private label product, which we're super excited about. It's actually a food product, which is something interesting for us. We've never kind of branched out into food, so we're excited about that. Initially, our goal, Philip, was to build a $100 million business in the next 18 months, and after analyzing the numbers from 2020, our business grew 20%. profits grew like 6 or 7%, right? So what that tells me is we worked a little harder and made only a little bit more money opposed to the amount of money we should make. So we're going to kind of scale it back and focus 2023 on profits and driving as much money back into the company as possible.
Yeah, profits is definitely, and cash flow is definitely the word of 2020, are the words of 2020. I feel like, which is what smart people do, is like focusing on those things. So, so definitely a smart move there. Do you guys sell mostly on Amazon, or you venture out to other e-commerce platforms and your own store? How is that looking for you guys?
Yeah, so for years we did Walmart, eBay, as well as our own website. But about, I don't know, 24 months ago, 18 months ago, we just stopped all of them and went all in on Amazon because we saw the amazing opportunity that existed with wholesale.
And mostly US or focused outside as well?
So we do a little bit of UK. We don't do Canada or Mexico. So yeah, mostly US.
Yeah, I think US is the strongest market, like when it comes to demand, right? And also Amazon, out of all the platforms, is simply you can make a ton of good business simply there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and I have a question that shows up very often, and I'm very curious how you. And when I was asking like, what would you like me to discuss with Eric, it has been showing up quite frequently. Then there are two questions on my slides. One is like, how do you guys choose the right products to sell? But I think we touched a little bit on the kind of like, it's important that both the dollar amount, how much you're making per unit, and also you know, the ROIs on that, and probably like also if there's any interest in the product, like is it going to be moving and selling, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also curious, like, and this is very often a beginner's question. And overwhelming issue, suppliers. Like,
Yeah.
what do you tell people? How should they be going into like finding the right supplier? What do you answer them in a like 2-3 minute answer? I know you can go deep into it, but
yeah, and I get a lot of messages like that, right? And the first thing I usually do is send them a video to one of our resources on YouTube, which is like the reverse engineering method or the keyword search method, right? And then I tell them it's a volume game. So like typically you'll open about 10% of the accounts you reach out to. So like to open 10 accounts, you got to reach out to 100. Most people aren't willing to reach out to 100. They stop after 15 or 20. So it's like, of course you didn't open any accounts. You didn't really dedicate the time. So I think the biggest thing is just putting in the effort and making those, 75 to 100 phone calls and emails and really start getting the momentum rolling, which most people aren't willing to do.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. And I remember that when I was starting with arbitrage and book arbitrage, I had exactly the same strategy for myself. I was just doing like, I was by myself just trying to understand the business first. And I was saying, okay, I'm every day going to buy 5 books, try to find 5 profitable books. Yeah. And then I would grow from there. And when I actually recommend somebody in our course now in an arbitrage to what to do first is like, you have to keep going. You have to have experience, gain that experience. And just yesterday, I had a conversation with one of our members, Neka, and she was saying like, well, I got my first book sold. That's amazing. But like, I ordered like 7. And I'm like, why 7? Like, I understand if it's not cash flow, like every day you have to sharpen the blade and sharpen the brain. And that's a little bit the same strategy what I did when starting wholesale. Is like, I was by myself as well, starting to just to understand it. And I had a like internal, and I didn't want to use too much of my time. I had other businesses, but like every day I will connect with 5 new suppliers every day. And like after 30 days, I had, like 15 or 20 that I could work with. I was checking them with Scan Unlimited, if their products, and a lot of those suppliers, their products, basically their offers are not good enough for us to work with, right? So like there's a lot of swifting through and kind of finding out what works and what not. But if you're not going to put in the work, definitely might be difficult for you to succeed. And that's something that I wanted to ask you about. Like, what do you think, Eric, is like for you as you observe, as you teach, and you're a teacher and a mentor, the hardest thing about e-commerce? And second question that I wanted to ask around it, and I am personally like, your level of success is extraordinary. Like, amount of people that are going to be that you can talk to that have a business of that size on Amazon is very
Yeah.
limited. So I'm curious, what do you attribute that success to in yourself? I know that probably there's a lot of smart people around you as well, but you wouldn't be in the chair. Like I wanted to say to make this kind of like comment a bit earlier, like, oh well, you've been like, from let's say a bartender or from a restaurant helper to owner of a giant business, right? I was
Yeah.
just curious, like, what parts of is it like parts of your nature that you attribute this to, or so maybe two questions that, and if you don't mind starting about this hardest thing that you consider or hard things that are no go for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so to answer, those are two great questions, Philip. And to answer your first one about the hardest thing about e-commerce, I would say, listen, once you get the momentum flowing, it's pretty straightforward selling products on the internet, right? I think where the biggest complication comes in is once you have that basic foundation, getting above that 5-figure a month mark. It's very easy to do 10, 20, $30,000 a month on Amazon, but it takes a completely different mindset and a completely different person to do 200, 300, $400,000 a month. And that's what a lot of these people are trying to do, get to that next level, but they're just stuck in limbo because they're using their own resources and they've never been trained on how to grow a business to that level.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a
So,
mindset thing almost.
so from 5 figures to 6 figures, for some people, it's like the first sale or like getting to a stable at anything sales, right?
Yeah.
But then like you jump to that level and then you have to go a little bit higher. And I guess there's never really a ceiling to what you can achieve, right? Like there are always going to be a brand or a company that's going to be bigger than you, almost
Yeah.
always. So yeah, how do you think like about the second part of my question? Like why did
Yes.
you succeed over so many other sellers?
Yeah. So what I attribute my success to is kind of the question, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a few things, Definitely, you touched on it before. It's the people I surround myself with, and this is something I learned recently, maybe like 3 years ago. But the action of investing, in masterminds and live events and all these things where you can interact with people in person, and you pay a high ticket to get to them, but those things really open up my mind as well. So I attribute a lot of my success to that. But before I had any money to spend, $50K to get into a mastermind, what my mindset has always been for me, Philip, is a mindset of gratitude and appreciation for everything that I have. So I just wake up happy as hell every single day, man, and I'm just ready to serve people.
I was afraid how you're going to say happy as what, and I was worried we're going to have to blip it out, but you at least happy as hell is fine there. Um, I wanted to ask you a little bit about it, actually, because I talk to a lot of very successful sellers, and we're all friends with people who are considered very successful and achieved success, but we often talk about with my friends that are like high level. I talk a little bit about there's a difference between success and fulfillment.
Mm.
I think. Is there for you? Like, do you connect your fulfillment with the job that you do? Do you feel like that you're now fully fulfilled, or you said like gratitude? So that is kind of a countering to always hungry mindset,
Yeah.
right? In a way. How do you
Yeah.
tackle that? Like, how do you decompress? How do you turn off? How does it work for you? Or you don't ever?
No, I definitely do. I definitely do. I like to go to the gym. I love to kind of spend 45 minutes to an hour. And one of the things I do, which my girl gives me shit about it all the time, or excuse me, sorry, I didn't get there without dropping one. But but I don't bring my phone to the gym. I simply just disconnect from social media, because if I do, I'll be checking emails, I'll be on Instagram, I'll be DMing people. It'll be a nightmare. I'd never get anything accomplished. So it's important for me to spend that time, and then I like to spend time with my family as well. Detach a little.
Yeah, I'm also starting every day before going to work. I'm actually, so weirdly, I'm not sure how old are you, but I'm 39 soon to be, and I just decided that I'm gonna be like running ultra trail marathons. I just said like, because I saw some people in the mountains that do it, like 40, like 20 miles in the mountains, 50 miles in the mountains. And I was like, I don't run. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's something I should be doing. And
Yeah.
now I'm going to the gym every day. I was before just lifting weights. Now I'm like running, hiking, lifting weights. And it's like, it's funny how, I always thought like I'm now at peace with myself and I'm like peaceful, but like as soon as I find a new challenge, there's a lot of excitement and
Yeah.
coming to the challenge. So that's something that I wanted to ask you a little bit as we are wrapping up here. What excites you the most from like business perspective, a little bit maybe from the community perspective, and from a personal perspective, like those things that gets you psyched up the most?
Yeah.
And I'll just show Stephen commented like it's not whether the cup is half full or empty, but thankful you have the cup.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more, man. And what was your question, Philip?
Yeah, I was asking like what currently excites you the most when it comes to business, when it comes to kind of more personal things?
Yeah.
What drives you now?
So I would say the most exciting thing happening in my life right now is helping serve 7 and 8 figure business owners. So we created a program. It's called the Inner Circle, where I get to work with 30 or 40 some of the biggest Amazon sellers in the world, and it's super exciting because I can really deliver massive results to a company like that. The difference of from 5 million a year to 10 million more profitable a year, like that's what gets me amped up, man.
Okay, that must be a very high energy environment, I must assume, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so today we were trying to kind of just look at both arbitrage and wholesale and kind of look from this perspective. So if somebody wants to consider learning more about like how they can maybe go from arbitrage to wholesale, or maybe just like learn a little bit more from Amazon Lit, how can those guys where can they find you?
Yeah, simplest would be, just to Google Amazon Lit. Our website is very transparent. It's got all our resources. Also, I suggest follow us on Instagram because there's a lot of great resources there as well. And if you ever got any questions, whether it's about what I teach and how I can help you grow your business, or it's just a general question, my DMs are open, and I'm more than happy to get to know some of you on a deeper level.
Yeah, that's amazing, and thank you for offering this to our community. I'm hoping that you're gonna be a more often guest of our communities as well. Like I think there's plenty still to discuss and learn. So, but wanted to definitely thank you for this half an hour that you took of your day. Starting the day, finishing the day. What's the schedule?
So right now, my day, I'm in the middle of it, man. I got a 2 o'clock over. It's 1:30 p.m. in New Jersey right now. I got a 2 o'clock meeting with my entire team. We do a management meeting every Thursday, so we're all on the same page. Followed by a 2:30 with my buyers to make sure my buyers are buying enough inventory for the end of the year. And then I got a few, Inner Circle and e-sellers or iCalls. So my day's in the middle. What about you, Phil?
It's darkness behind, it's snowing behind me. I'm ready to probably do some brainless activity finally. So that's the beauty of Europe, and we're actually starting to travel to Italy. My wife is Italian, so we're going to Italy in 2 days doing a road trip. So a lot of packing and excitement. A little bit of that fulfillment stuff. So Eric, thank you very much for being with us. Really appreciate it, and have a great day.
Thanks, Philip. Appreciate you, everybody. Stay lit.
Thank you very much, guys. See you. Bye-bye.